thriving Twitter practice as the incredibly funny and popular Xploding Unicorn. He'll be here with a book signing later on today, and he'll tell you more about that when he comes up here. And also, please forgive him because his voice is perhaps 1/10 what it could be. Please welcome James Breakwell.
I didn't want to touch you anyway. All right, so I lost my voice from a cold 10 days ago. And I thought, this speech is so far away, surely it won't happen. Got on the plane, still didn't have it. I thought, okay, 3 relaxing days in New Orleans, that'll give me my voice back. No, bad play. But that's okay, because I'm not here for my beautiful singing voice. I'm here because of my Twitter account, @Xploding Unicorn without the E. And on that account, I write jokes about my kids. And some of those jokes are real, and some are exaggerated, and some are made up. But they all hit that underlying truth of what it's like to be a parent. These are the parts that make you laugh. These are the parts that make you shake your head. These are the parts that make you curl up in a fetal position and wonder why you reproduced in the first place. Like that's all part of the package that people can relate to. A whole lot of people. I had just over 1 million people, or 1 million followers on my Twitter account. I assume you know people. I also have on Facebook another 250,000. And then between my other side Twitter accounts and Instagram and Pinterest, my total follower count is closer to 2 million. So I want to talk to you about how I got to that point, because I think there's a misconception out there that going viral is something that happens to you rather than something that you make happen. Like I don't like the analogy even of a virus spreading. I think when your content takes off, it's more like a forest fire. Like you can set up the conditions for a forest fire. For a forest fire to take off and spread, you've got to have the right kind of fuel, the right kind of content that will burn. You've got to have a lot of it, and it's got to be close together so it'll spread. And then you've got to have a spark that sets it off. And I think that spark step is what a lot of people get stuck on. I think there's a lot of people out there who are producing good content, and they're just waiting for that lightning strike to light their whole forest on fire and make everything spread. But you can be that spark. I mean, you can be there rubbing sticks together with matches or a flamethrower. And this is a metaphor. If I find out any of you actually burned down a forest, I will disavow all knowledge of this speech. So I want to talk to you about how I kind of set off my own forest fire. This is not the path I thought I was going to take. I thought I was going to make it through journalism. I wanted to be the next Dave Barry. And my plan, this brilliant plan of mine, was I was going to go and get a job at a smaller or mid-sized newspaper, and I was going to be so good there, I was going to get promoted to the Indianapolis Star, the biggest newspaper in Indiana. And I was going to be so good there, they were going to give me my own column, and I was going to write comedy, and that comedy column was going to be so good, I was going to get a book deal. And this was, 2007, when I should have known where newspapers were going. But I went in, I thought this was a great plan. And I did, I got a job at a newspaper, and I was okay at it, but there was just one small problem. I hated being a reporter. Like I thought that when you're a reporter, you cover new and interesting stories all the time, but you don't. Anybody in journalism can tell you, when you're in journalism, you cover one story over and over again. And that story is somebody's angry about something. And sometimes they're angry with a microphone at a meeting, and sometimes they're angry with a sign at a protest. Sometimes they're angry at a crime scene with a gun or a knife. One time there was a guy who was angry with a sword, and that was a fun one. His teenage daughter had taken up with a boy whom he did not approve, and his solution was to go running through the trailer park with a broadsword. And at the time, that seemed absolutely insane to me. But now as the father of 4 daughters, it makes all the sense in the world. And my wife was very happy to ban me from buying swords. So a year into this decades-long plan to work my way up to the top of journalism, I decided I couldn't take it. I quit. I got out. I gave up. And I thought I would never write again. I got a job in a cubicle someplace that wouldn't involve writing. But I really wasn't much better at quitting than I was at journalism. I took another look at it. I realized I don't hate writing. I just hate writing about angry people. I still like writing jokes. So I took another look at it. How can I get to this book deal without being a professional writer, without putting in my dues and working my way up? As I did this research, I realized there's just this massive crush of humanity trying to squeeze through the eye of the needle for a very limited number of publishing opportunities. Everybody's got a book in their heads. Everybody wants to get published, and it almost never happens. So I decided I was going to come at it from the opposite angle. I was going to build up a following on my own, and then publishers would come to me. And so I started writing. I had a blog, Xplodingunicorn.com, and I had kind of planned for it to be my side thing as I worked my way up through journalism to keep my comedy writing skills sharp as I paid my dues, but it ended up this blog was all I had left. So I poured myself into this blog, and writing comedy article after comedy article. It ended up being like 300,000 words long. And just for reference, the book that I finally did get published when I made it to the end of this journey is 40,000 words long. Now it's got graphs and charts and comics, so it's 200 pages, but it's 40,000 words. And people pay money for that. I mean, it's getting translated into French and Korean right now. But for years, I had 300,000 words on the internet for free, and I couldn't get anybody to read them. I was charging $0, and it was too much. And it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, I was shamelessly self-promoting. I mean, like one time my apartment complex, they banned grills on the second floor balconies. And I said, to hell with fire safety. You know, you can ban grills, but you can't ban children. So I dressed my grill up like a child, and I wrote an article about that. And boom, 30,000 readers in a day. But they all went away. And another time, one of my brothers was getting married. I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and so me and another brother got together and said, what's the one thing every newlywed couple needs? Obviously, an 8-foot-tall taxidermy grizzly bear. So we started a crowdfunding campaign to buy my brother a bear. Boom, 30,000 readers in a day. And again, they went away. And this wasn't without cost. I mean, this was taking me a ton of time. It blew up my family. My sister-in-law hated me for years, and we didn't even get the damn bear. So that was the worst part. So I was trying. So I finally decided, in the fire analogy, what I had content that was good, but it wasn't related. I couldn't sustain it. It would burn, and then it would flare out, and it wouldn't spread to everything else. So I finally decided I need to be my own gatekeeper. I was getting these bursts of traffic, because every once in a while I would catch the attention of a big website, and they would send traffic my way. I said, I need to be my own gatekeeper if I'm going to make this, because I'm just spinning my wheels. So I joined Twitter, and that changed everything. Twitter gave me 2 things I didn't even realize I needed. It gave me feedback, and it gave me focus. So when I would write these blog posts, they would take me 4 or 5 hours to write. And at the end of it, I would get like 2 comments. You know, haha, that's hilarious, and this is stupid, delete your blog. Neither of which is super helpful. At the same time, like, I wasn't looking for constructive criticism. Like, if I wrote this comedy article and all I got back was a 10,000-word detailed critique on what went right and what went wrong, I would quit comedy writing. Like, I do this to make people laugh, not to be picked apart. But Twitter gave me feedback in a way my ego could handle. Twitter, it's really the perfect joke writing vehicle. So when you write a joke on Twitter, if it's good, people like it, people retweet it, and it spreads to a wider audience. And if they don't like it, they just scroll on by. So very few people see it. So you get to succeed on a large scale and fail on a small scale, and you get data, you get scalable data. And it can work for you right now. You know, what joke got you? This joke got 5 likes and this joke got 1 like. Why is that? Let's go towards those 5 likes. I do the same thing today, but I have 1 million followers. This joke got 10,000 likes, this one got 1,000. Why is that? I mean, this is data you can use right now. And what that data was telling me is that people wanted me to write about my kids. I mean, I was writing about everything, but they liked these quick back and forth jokes I was writing with my children. So I said, okay, this is my good content. This is what'll burn. I'm gonna zero in on this because it's getting a response. And I kind of redefined myself, which is what I needed. So the reason my other content, like 300,000 words, wasn't going viral is you couldn't explain to somebody what it was about. I was a random 20-something writing random articles about random things in my life. But now, I was the dad tweeting hilarious conversations with his 4 daughters. That's an explanation that you can spread by word of mouth. What are you laughing about? Oh, you know that dad who tweets about his 4 daughters. It's an explanation that can fit in a headline. And that was the key. You knew exactly what you were going to find. And when you clicked on that, you would come back to my Twitter account and find more of it. I mean, we've got a room here of 300 or 400 dad bloggers. You know, what are the 4 or 5 words that set you apart? When somebody else tells about you, when somebody writes an article about you, what defines you? Are you just the random dad writing about random things, or are you the dad with an angle? And that's what's going to make the difference. You got to find that angle, what sets you apart, and you've got to work it like you've never worked it before. That's the other element of this. I think that sometimes we find something good, and we're like, I'll take advantage of that when I have time. There are 3 great myths in the world today: Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and free time. You will never have free time. It's never gonna happen. There's always going to be something else you can be doing for work, something else you can be doing at home, something else you can be doing for your kids. And if you think you have free time, just ask your wife. You don't. There's always going to be something else that can encroach. So if you've figured out who you are, if you've defined, if you've figured the content that will burn and spread, you've just got to block out time and do it. So for me, I had a day job I didn't like very much. So I was going to be the guy who tweeted for work. I was tweeting about my kids there. And I was, I was writing about my kids anyway, so I was playing with my children, I was gathering material. And then I cut out video games, I condensed them down to one night a week, and then I convinced my wife to play with me, so video game night and date night were the same. That was probably my single greatest accomplishment. And I decided I didn't really need 8 hours of sleep a night, so I cut back on that. I was just gonna I was writing 25 jokes a day, which doesn't sound like a lot if you're not in comedy. If you are in comedy, it sounds insane. But this is what I had to do because I was getting results. I was chopping this wood. I was laying down the fuel for this fire, and I was growing. Slowly but surely, I was growing. I made another change at this point too. I created my pen name, James Breakable. It's not my real name. Go ahead and let out your shock gasps and all of that. But this is a decision you're going to have to make as you grow. Because we're all dads, we've all got people to protect, we've all got livelihoods, and the fact is that when you're creating this content, you're going to be creating this content for free for years before you ever make a penny at it. So I decided I needed a fake name, so if my boss Googled me, he wouldn't figure out that I wasn't doing my job all day. It was very important for me. And then, as a side benefit, as they focused in on my kids, you can't find my kids, you can't find my house. And there's a different line. Everybody's got to find their line. There's some people who will not tweet pictures of their kids, but will use their full names. There's some people who use their real name and address. I mean, you just got to find what you're comfortable with. For me, this was the line. I created this new persona, this double life, and I put more time into it than my day job for $0. And so that's it, end of the story, right? I figured out the right content, I figured out the time, and I was done. No, it doesn't work. Just because you have everything set up right doesn't mean you're going to get that forest fire right away. I mean, I probably had everything in place to go viral by 2013, maybe early 2014. And it took me years after that to get that to ignite. So I was putting out this content. I was growing slowly and surely, grinding up. I got over 100,000 followers. Then Reader's Digest got in touch with me. Then I thought, this is it. This is the spark that's going to set everything off. Largest publication in the world, 5 million copies. So they find me through Twitter. They go back to my blog. They wrote the article. Nothing. Every few years, somebody will find that old article in a dentist's office and send me hate mail, but that's about it. So, kept chopping wood, kept growing. Reader's Digest came back again. This time they sent 2 photographers from New York, and they spent 3 hours taking pictures of me eating Jell-O. Don't ask. And I thought, well, maybe this will make me take off. I got this half-page picture of me. Surely now my secret identity will be exposed, and I'll go viral. Nothing. Nobody knew who I was. It didn't take off. Kept writing, kept grinding. Headline news came along. Still nothing. Then my content started to go viral for other people. Giant Instagram accounts with 9 or 10 million followers would take screen caps of my tweets, cut off my name and face, and run them. And they would get hundreds of thousands of likes. There would be 10,000 comments saying, my God, this is the funniest thing I've ever read. And I would file copyright violation reports, and I would get it taken down. But when you get a stolen joke taken down, those 10,000 people who commented, they don't come to you. They just stick around for the next stolen joke. So I knew, again, I was getting all this objective evidence. My content was good. I just couldn't get it ignite for me. So I kept writing, kept grinding, kept growing. Then, I think it was the end of 2015 rolled around. The Force Awakens came out. And you know that, they spend that whole movie looking for Luke Skywalker. And at the end, they find him, and he turns around dramatically, and they don't give him any lines. So I thought, I'm going to give Luke Skywalker lines. So I created a new Twitter account, Very Lonely Luke. And I was going to apply all the lessons I learned from my main account. I was going to put good content that could burn. I was going to put a lot of it close together. I was going to have a concept that was very easy to explain from one person to another. This is crazy Luke talking to himself on an island. That's all it was. So I was up to 200,000 followers on my main account at this point. I started that one. I started Very Lonely Luke the day after Christmas, I think 2015. In 3 weeks, I gained 300,000 followers. It went viral. It was everywhere. Mark Hamill himself followed it. He still retweets it to this day. And every time he does, I tell my wife, and every time she still doesn't care. It's all right. It impresses me. So I thought, well, this is it. I went viral under an account I control. Now I'll get my book deal. Now I've made it. You know what? It's really hard to monetize pretending to be a Jedi. It didn't lead to anything. It just, again, okay, my jokes will go viral if somebody steals them. They'll go viral if I pretend to be somebody else, so I just gotta keep going. So now I was running these 2 big accounts with 500,000 people between them, writing these same jokes every day, putting them out. And then finally, 4 months later, it happened. My main account went viral. And it was from the source I didn't think was gonna make any difference. It was BuzzFeed, of all places. I mean, they do those lists all the time. Top 25 tweets of that, or top 20, and it's not top 25 of anything. It's just the first 25 tweets that editor found that had that keyword in them. And I was on these things like weekly, and I never gained a follower from it. So BuzzFeed contacted me like, hey, we're gonna write an article about you. I'm like, okay, whatever. But this time, it was just about me. There were 20 of my tweets on there, and they were a clickable link. They led back to me. And if you took that, you came back to my account, and you found 15,000 other jokes that were just like that. So they posted this article on a Saturday, the lowest traffic day of the week. And I checked my Twitter account that morning. I gained 3,000 followers. I thought, oh, that's kind of neat. By noon, I gained 10,000. By that night, I gained 40,000. By the end of the weekend, I had gained 100,000. By Monday morning, I was getting emails from newspapers around the world. By the end of the week, I had an agent. By the end of the month, I was locking down a book deal. And see, that's the part of the story everybody focuses on. They're like, oh my God, you went viral and this all happened so fast. It's like, no, this was years. I mean, this is 300,000 words nobody read. This was 15,000 jokes and $0 and a fake identity. This was all of that. Don't just look at the viral part and get discouraged, because you can start building towards that right now. And so I finally got my book deal. That book you should very much buy today, because I don't want to fly those copies back to Indianapolis. But I wrote A Parent's Guide to Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse. And all these other guys out there, they assume you're like this young, fit millennial looking out for yourself, through the apocalypse. What about the rest of us? What if you're not so young? What if you're not so in shape? What if you're not looking out for yourself? You're dragging 1 or 2 or 3 or God help you, 4 kids through the apocalypse. So that's what I wrote, and it sold really well. And the Indianapolis Star, the paper I was trying to get to originally, they ran an article about it. And by this time, I had 900,000 followers on my main account. And I did everything I could to drive traffic to that article about me. And this newspaper said, my God, this guy can drive traffic. And they offered me a column, a parenting column. So just to review, I started out a decade earlier. I wanted to get to the Indy Star, get a column, get a book deal. I gave up right away, spent a decade in the wilderness, ended up right back where I was trying to go with that parenting column and that book deal. But the best part wasn't that. Well, the best part wasn't when I got my second book deal, or now that I'm working on my third. The best part was when I got to send a letter that I had been waiting since high school to send. At the end of high school, I had written a funny speech at graduation. And one of my friend's moms came up to me and she said, can I have a signed copy of that speech? And I said, I guess, why would you want that? She said, I think you're gonna be somebody someday. And I silently promised myself then and there that when I finally got a book deal, I would send her that first signed copy. And so that's what I did. I wrote her a letter. Like, you probably don't remember anything about this, but I promised myself you would get it. And it took a while, a very long while. But 14 years and 2 failed careers later, this is that book. And the best part was she had saved that speech for all those years. So we all have somebody out there like that. Somebody who believed in us, who were like, someday, we're gonna prove you right. And you can. You've just gotta start taking the steps right now. Ignore the people. Stop looking at people from the moment they go viral forward and start setting up yourself for that forest fire right now. Figure out the 4 or 5 words that define who you are, that make you different than everybody in the room. Figure out what kind of content is gonna burn. Fill your forest floor with that, and then create the sparks and just watch your content spread like wildfire. Thank you.